So Campbell Soup, as you all know, is panicking because the media is getting called out for ignoring the real ingredient questions that sparked this, massive backlash in the first place. And people want answers. So people are watching this situation because, well, let's be honest, Campbell Soup is just acting like the alleged ingredient claims are a side issue, even though the questions are basic and fair. So Campbell Soup is trying to steer the public away from the rant instead of, dealing with what people actually care about. Now, anyone who buys their products wants to know if Campbell Soup is following the rules on disclosures. Now, the company has given a denial statement, but offers nothing that the public can verify. That's why Campbell Soup keeps getting dragged into the spotlight right now. Okay. So, yeah, as you all know, the media jumped straight into the racism angle on Campbell Soup because it shields them from covering the ingredient claims that could expose a real problem. So this is coming in from several different outlets and stuff, including Newsweek and Fortune, where they mainly focused on about the former VP talking about the customers, calling them poor, and also talk about the Indian employees of the Indian race and stuff. But at the same time, people are like, okay, no one is racist and stuff. No one's calling anything, here racist or anything. But the thing is, they're not questioning the company about the problem at hand, which was getting to the suspicion, to the point where people are suspected of their ingredients. Now, calling a fired executive racist is safer for them than questioning major food companies' processes. I'm talking about the media. The ingredient claim threatens federal disclosure laws and state bans on cultivated meat, so it carries weight that they prefer to avoid. The racism story brings no consequences. Y'all know me. I'm against racism of all people of every race and stuff, but and that's definitely a problem. But at the same time, that's not the only problem. Okay, so that part was dealt with, but now because the guy got fired, but now is the questions of whether Campbell Soup is actually making the kind of ingredients in the foods that they're claiming to. Now, the food safety story also brings accountability. You see, the ingredient claims against Campbell Soup matter because they involve what millions of people put into their bodies. If a company used any form of bioengineered or 3D printed meat without disclosure, as the former VP stated, it would violate multiple laws. That's not a storyline that the media wants to touch. They trust a press release from Campbell Soup instead of independent confirmation. They also treat, a denial like a fact instead of something that needs verification. Now, the former VP for Campbell Soup sounded like a man who believed he knew something from the inside the company. Now, job titles inside corporations do not limit what employees hear, read, or witness. Years spent at Campbell Soup exposed staff to supplier details, internal presentations, and even off-record conversations. These situations happen in every big company. Ignoring that possibility is not honest reporting either. So the company's denial is reading like, more of a statement crafted to avoid legal risk. It does not include third-party verification or independent testing. It does not include supplier affidavits released to the public, but it also doesn't include plant access for outside reporters either, but it stands completely untested. Now, food scandals have a long track record of being denied before being proven true. Pink slime, for example, horse meat, contamination, and PFAS chemicals were all labeled false until testing exposed the truth from different places. Reporters know this history. They choose to forget it because the racism storyline is easy. Food safety investigations take a lot of real work. So the USDA's bioengineered disclosure rules confuse most shoppers. The symbols are small, vague, and easy to overlook. Many companies already use GMO corn, soy, and canola, and the labels do not make that obvious. So the former executive's comments brought attention back to transparency. Now, honestly, the media could have followed that lead, but they chose to walk away from it. Okay. So Florida's Attorney General stepping in also shows the ingredient issue with Campbell Soup is not a casual accusation. A state regulator does not request, documents without cause. So that alone should push reporters toward deeper questions. But instead, they just accept the denial of Campbell Soup and stop the story there. That right there is not screaming investigative work. So the consumer trust in legacy food brands like Campbell Soup continues to fall because people believe companies hide information. The media could rebuild some of that trust back by just pushing for verification. Independent testing of Campbell Soup samples would serve the public, but it also would hold corporations accountable. Now, it seems to me reporters do not want that kind of responsibility. Now, testing the soup from Campbell Soup is fast, simple, and even cheap in 2025. Labs can detect cultivated meat markers in days. The cost is small compared to the budgets of major news outlets. Now, any newsroom could test samples of Campbell Soup brought from a local store. They choose not to because the results could disrupt their preferred narrative. Okay, so crowdfunding could cover the cost if newsrooms refuse to fund it. Universities with food science programs could also run the tests with minimal resources, okay? But, none of these options present a real barrier. Verification is more accessible than ever. Refusing to test is a choice, not a limitation. Now, the racism angle requires no evidence and no effort because we heard it ourselves. Reporters can repeat it with no risk and no challenge to corporate power. It fits their predictable political framing, and they can recycle the story across multiple networks. It also fills airtime without touching public health. Now, the ingredient claims presents an uncomfortable situation for the media, okay? It puts them in the position of challenging a major brand instead of amplifying, a social narrative. It forces them to ask questions that corporations do not want asked. It also forces them to consider that a fired executive may have said something that's worth checking, even though he said something completely racist, but they avoided that pressure. Consumers deserve the facts about what they're eating. We're eating it in our bodies. They deserve third-party testing, not PR statements. They deserve reporting that looks at real ingredients, not political buzzwords. They deserve journalists who are willing to check claims instead of just, shielding the companies like Campbell Soup. Okay, so they are not getting that from the mainstream press at all. Okay. Now, honestly, an investigation could clear Campbell Soup or expose problems. Either outcome would give the public clarity. Either outcome requires verification. Choosing not to verify the claims against Campbell Soup leaves people guessing. That is not acceptable when it comes to food safety. Okay? But as usual, let me know what you're thinking about, Campbell Soup and the media not pushing back against these claims. Okay, so let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below, what you're thinking about this whole Campbell Soup controversy. Be sure to smash the like button, share the video far wide across social media, subscribe to the channel, turn on the bell for future uploads, notifications, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, peace.